Guys, there's a crazy prediction floating around there online that Bitcoin's going to be worth over $1 million in the next 90 days. And this is not some out there theory that started on 4chan that's trying to get memed into existence. This was put out there by a heavyweight entrepreneur and investor you might know as Balaji from Twitter. He happens to be the former CTO of Coinbase and also general partner at A16Z. So let's say he just knows a thing or two about crypto. And he's so confident in this prediction that he just put a $1 million bet out there publicly. This prediction has taken the internet by storm. It's plastered all over the place. Everybody's talking about it. And this developer actually created a smart contract where this is enforceable on chain. So can this actually happen? I'll break this down and everything you need to know in this video today as a blockchain developer myself who's worked with this technology on a daily basis since 2017, has seen multiple crypto cycles. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to show you how you can also create a smart contract just like this to pull off this bet, because there can even be an opportunity for developers to get in on this. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you don't know how to become a blockchain master, step-by-step start to finish, break into the industry, increase your salary well past 100K, I can show you how to do that over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about this crazy prediction of Bitcoin reaching $1 million per coin in the next 90 days. So in case you've been living under a rock over the past month or so, there's been a huge panic going around that the US banking system could completely collapse and we could see something like, the 2008 financial crisis all over again, or maybe even worse, okay? We saw a major bank, Silicon Valley Bank, completely go under, one of the largest banks in the US, and several other cascading failures happen as a result. So in response, the U.S. central bank has increased its balance sheet by $300 billion, undoing nearly half of the quantitative tightening measures that took place last year, and adding many provisions to essentially bail out the banking system to prevent these types of failures. Now, naturally, this has led many people to fear that inflation could completely spin out of control. After all, inflation has been public enemy number one over the past few years, and the central bank in the U.S. has been aggressively raising interest rates to combat inflation to get it back under its 2% target. But in light of the recent banking failures and the actions taken by the central bank to try to mitigate this disaster even more, a lot of people see this as an exercise in futility, that the banks could continue to fail regardless, and that we could enter into a period of hyperinflation. Now, hyperinflation no doubt will be an absolute disaster. Nobody wants that. But not everybody out there thinks that things are so doom and gloom that we could actually see something as bad as hyperinflation. And so that's the next thing you have to understand, is that we saw this sentiment put out there by James Medlock on Twitter that says, I'll bet anyone $1 million that the U.S. does not enter hyperinflation. And so enter in Balaji on Twitter, who retweets this and says, hey, I'm going to take you up on this bet. I predict that this is going to happen and it's going to make Bitcoin reach $1 million per coin in the next 90 days. And again, this is not just some random person. This is the former CTO of Coinbase, has been in crypto for a very long time. And so he's basically saying like, hey, here's the terms of the bet. You go buy one Bitcoin and I'm going to take $1 million and we're going to transfer these things to a custodian of some kind, okay? And in the next 90 days, if Bitcoin reaches $1 million or more, then I'm going to win the bet. And so they could do this with a centralized custodian, but he says ideally they'd like to do this with a smart contract. I'm actually going to show you an implementation for that here in a minute. And after some back and forth with this online, they're moving forward with the bet. Okay, he's officially put out this bet of $1 million that Bitcoin's going to reach $1 million in the next 90 days. And so you might think this is incredibly far-fetched. And so why does he even think this is the case? So he's saying just like in 2008, right now, the bankers have lied, particularly to dollar holders and depositors. And now we're seeing a massive liquidity problem in the banks right now. And this has all been very obvious. The bankers have seen this coming, but that regulators have allowed banks to hide this insolvency for way too long. And he's saying it's just like a situation where SBF lied to depositors of FTX, which completely went bust. That we're seeing a similar type of thing happen here. And so, how could this then transfer to Bitcoin reaching an insane price? Well, basically, if we do enter into a period of hyperinflation, then this could be an inflection point of adoption for Bitcoin as a safe haven asset, something it's really tried to accomplish over the past, but this could be the turning point. And he uses this term of hyper-Bitcoinization, basically saying that all of the fiat currency is going to be inflated away, and this could basically send the price of Bitcoin to astronomical levels. But why do you think it's going to happen so fast, right? Well, he says that hyperinflation happens fast. We've seen this during major world events like in 2020 and digital bank runs like Silicon Valley Bank, and that we could be on the cusp of another major event that makes the world change really rapidly. And basically, ever since this prediction was made, we've seen Bitcoin on a steady trend upward, okay? And it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. So, is this the beginning of another parabolic move that could just send Bitcoin to the moon? Well, let me tell you what my thoughts on the matter are. So as always, it's not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information, but I want to break this down. So if you do a little more research, we can look to see what Balaji himself has said on other podcasts that he's gone on since he's made this bet. So the real question is, does he actually think this is going to happen? So you can look at the latest interview with Balaji on Pomp's show, and we get some clarification on this, where he says, I did not actually post the bet, I just accepted the bet. And I think part of this is drawing attention to the bigger issue of what's going on with the banking system and how crypto could be a life raft for this, and the potential for hyperinflation and hyper-Bitcoinization. So based on this, I would interpret that he sees this in the realm of possibility. In fact, he gives it, I think, 40-1 odds, and he's willing to take on this bet even if Bitcoin doesn't reach $1 million in this time frame, and if he loses, because there's going to be a greater benefit to him of exposure and the increased Bitcoin adoption itself. And of course, he's probably going to hold a significant amount of Bitcoin through this process. Of course, I have no insight to what his financial situation is, but let's say he holds, $10 million of Bitcoin and the price increases by 10%. Well, he's made his million back. All right, so in light of all that, what do I personally think? Well, again, not financial advice, but based on this, I would consider this, within the realm of possibility, okay? I always think about these things in terms of probabilities because nobody ever knows exactly what's going to happen in the future. But I still think it's unlikely that we're going to see a $1 million Bitcoin in the next 90 days. I mean, that's pretty crazy price appreciation. Things have to get really bad in terms of hyperinflation in order to reach that type of price. But if I had to assign odds to it, I'd give it like a 2% chance. Now, that's kind of spitballing, and even then it seems really low. But if you had asked me in the past 5 years whether I thought Bitcoin was going to reach a price of $1 million per coin in the next 90 days, at any point in time, even in a massive bull run, I would have given it less than a 1% chance. And so even increasing from less than 1% chance to maybe like a 2% chance or slightly more is a big change in odds. And my other view on this is even if Bitcoin doesn't reach $1 million per coin in the next 90 days, again, which I think is ultimately unlikely, that doesn't mean that the world's not waking up to the fact that there is a problem in the financial system right now, and that crypto could actually be something that helps alleviate some of that pain, okay? This is one of the first times we're actually seeing Bitcoin work like a safe haven asset that's really inversely correlated with what's going on with the stock market, okay? While the S&P 500 has been down, we've seen Bitcoin price appreciate significantly during this time. And we could see the Bitcoin price continue to propel forward during this time, even if it doesn't ultimately reach $1 million per coin in the next 90 days. We've seen sentiment completely change on a dime. Bitcoin's now in the greed territory on the fear and greed index, and many people think this could be the beginning of the next bull market that takes us to new all-time highs. Now, whether that's in 2023 or not remains to be seen. My bet's that it's probably not going to see new all-time highs in 2023. It'll probably come after. But now let's get into the technical details of this and how this can be enforced on chain and how there could be some opportunities for you as a developer. So, like Balaji was saying in his initial tweet, hey, we could do this with a centralized custodian, or we could just create a smart contract to enforce this and do it all on chain. And we actually saw one developer on Twitter jump at this opportunity and built a smart contract to facilitate this bet. Okay, so you can actually go check this on GitHub. It's completely open source. I'm going to walk you through how this works and show how you can implement the same type of thing to create an app that, makes money out of something like this. Okay, so this is a Solidity smart contract that basically takes two different ERC20 tokens and compares the prices in some future date, okay? And then based on what the price of those is, it's going to settle the bet and then actually transfer the funds to whoever won the bet. So this is written in Solidity. It's going to be deployed to the Ethereum blockchain or some other EVM-compatible chain. I would recommend using Ethereum because all the pieces that you need are very predictable in the same spot, and it's the most secure chain for doing something like this. But you have to understand, the price of Bitcoin itself is not something that's readily available on the Ethereum blockchain. And you can't even use Bitcoin directly on the Ethereum blockchain. So what it does is use something called wrapped Bitcoin, which is basically an ERC20 token version of Bitcoin. You can send your Bitcoin to the wrapped Bitcoin protocol, and it'll give you an ERC20 version of that you can use on the Ethereum blockchain. So the same thing with US dollar. There's no US dollars on the Ethereum blockchain either, so you can use a stablecoin like USDC, for example. So now you have two ERC20 tokens that you can trade, all right, and actually use on chain and lock into a smart contract that will facilitate this bet. So similarly, you don't have the price of this cryptocurrency natively on the Ethereum blockchain either, and that's exactly what you use oracles for. So in this case, it's Chainlink. So Chainlink basically provides real-world data to smart contracts. So if you want to know what the price of Bitcoin is, you can use a Chainlink oracle to do that, okay? And it will tell you whether or not Bitcoin has reached $1 million, okay? And how do you actually enforce the date on the blockchain? Well, you can use block timestamps, okay? Basically, block timestamps will tell you what the current time is in UTC time, okay? And then you can forecast that out 90 days from now to determine whether or not the price of Bitcoin has actually reached that in that amount of time. And then you can also store the wallets of each person who's taking this bet. Okay, so we'll just start to see that in the code. Basically, we create a constructor, which is the function that's created, the function that runs whenever the smart contract's created or put on the blockchain. And it just stores the wallet of Balaji, okay? And then also the counterparty here, whoever, is on the other side of the bet. Maybe you want to take the other side of the bet, okay? Although, of course, it's not financial advice. I'm not telling you to, put your Bitcoin in this. And then we say some settings like the bet length is 90 days. The price threshold is $1 million per Bitcoin. The USDC amount for the bet is $1 million. And the wrapped Bitcoin amount is, just 1 Bitcoin. Then, of course, we say the addresses for USDC, that's the US dollar in this case, and the wrapped Bitcoin, which is acting as the Bitcoin. And then we store this address for the chain link price feed that's going to tell you what the price of Bitcoin is. And so then we have a function that lets, person deposit USDC for the bet, okay? And then a function that lets, a person deposit the wrapped Bitcoin for the bet. So now, once they've done this, the funds that are being betted, in this case, 1 million USDC and then 1 Bitcoin, are stored in the smart contract for the duration of this, and they can't get them back, okay, until the 90-day period has concluded, and we can determine whether or not, the bet actually worked. Okay, that's the beauty of the smart contract. Is a digital agreement that's saying, hey, I'm going to send $1 million, I'm going to send 1 Bitcoin, and the only way that either one of us is going to get our money back is if we win the bet, and the smart contract's going to completely force that on the blockchain and nobody else can tamper with it. So then we have a safety function here that says cancel before initiation. Basically, this is going to let somebody say, hey, if I deposit $1 million in this smart contract and you don't deposit your 1 Bitcoin, by the start date, then I want my money back. Okay, that's totally fair. So we've got a provision to do that inside the smart contract. And then we have a function that's actually going to settle the bet. And so this is where the secret sauce is. Basically, we're going to check the block timestamp and make sure that it's 90 days from now. So if you try to settle the bet before 90 days, it's not going to work, okay? And then what we're going to do, once the 90 days has passed and you satisfy these conditions, we're going to call the Chainlink price feed, okay? It's basically this function down here. Just calls a Chainlink oracle to see what the price of Bitcoin is, all right? And if it's greater than $1 million, that's the price threshold here, then the winner's going to be Balaji. And if it's not, then the winner's going to be the counterparty, whoever you save when you deploy the smart contract. And then once you've concluded who the winner is, it just calls a transfer function on ERC20 tokens to the winner. Again, the winner gets both amount of funds in this case. They get $1 million US dollars plus 1 Bitcoin, whatever the price is at the time of winning here. All right, so that's an overview of how this works, okay? And it's really cool that you can do this on a blockchain. You can write these financial agreements, all right, that are just out there on a blockchain that nobody can tamper with. So there's always an opportunity for developers in doing this, because what you're seeing essentially is a prediction market, okay? And this is something that, if you change a couple of different variables, you could let other people take on these bets and, maybe charge a fee for this type of thing. You can create your own custom prediction markets. The possibilities are endless. All right, so that's an overview of how Bitcoin could reach $1 million in the next 90 days. This is a crazy prediction that's floating around everywhere. Those are my thoughts on whether or not this could happen. And that's an overview how you can implement this bet in code as a developer and what the opportunities could be for you. So if you like this video, as always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And if you like this video and you're as fast in the technology as I am, you want to break into the blockchain industry, increase your salary well past 100K, I can show you that over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. Again, you don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.